The bell above the bakery door chimed. Han Jun-seok stepped inside. The scent of vanilla and burnt sugar hit him immediately, mingling with the faint sweetness of frosting. He adjusted his cufflinks and glanced at his watch. 15 minutes. That was all he had before his next meeting. A wedding cake order shouldn't take longer than that. The bakery was small, tucked between a laundromat and a convenience store in a neighborhood he'd never visited. His assistant had recommended it. Something about authentic flavors and reasonable prices. Jun-seok didn't care about authenticity. He cared about efficiency. He approached the counter. His eyes scanned the display cases, filled with pastries and decorated cakes. Behind the glass, a woman crouched low, her back to him. Dark coils of hair fell past her shoulders as she tied a child's shoelace. "Mom, is this cake for a wedding?" the child asked, pointing at a 3-tiered cake covered in white fondant roses. The woman's hands stilled. "Yes, baby. Someone's getting married," she said softly. That voice. Jun-seok froze. His breath caught. His fingers tightened around the folder he carried, the one with his wedding details. He knew that voice. He knew that rhythm, the slight accent that had once made him smile. The woman stood slowly, turning toward him. Adai's. Her eyes met his, and for a moment neither moved. She looked older, not in years, but in weight. Something that settled in the eyes and around the mouth. Her skin was still smooth, still beautiful, but there was hardness now. Something that hadn't existed before. Recognition flickered across her face, brief and violent. Her hand shot out, pulling the child closer to her side. The child looked up at Jun-seok. Wide eyes, almond-shaped, sharp jawline, a small mole just below the left ear. Jun-seok's folder slipped from his fingers. Papers scattered across the tile floor. Adaizi stepped back, her arm locked around the child's shoulders. "Zane, go to the back, now." "But Mom." "Now." The boy obeyed, casting one last glance at Jun-seok before disappearing through a door marked "Employees Only." Silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. "Adaizi," Jun-seok whispered, his voice rougher than he intended. She grabbed her purse, her movements quick, jerky. "We're closed," she said. "The sign says—" "I said we're closed," she snapped. She didn't look at him as she moved toward the side door that led to the alley. Her hands trembled as she fumbled with the lock. Jun-seok stepped forward. "Wait, just wait." "Don't," she said. Her voice cracked like a whip. Fear, raw and unfiltered. "Don't come near us." She pushed through the door. The boy's small voice came from beyond. "Mom, why are we leaving?" "Just hold my hand, Zane," she replied. Jun-seok reached the doorway, but she was already halfway down the alley. Zane's small hand clutched in hers. People on the street were staring. A man in an expensive suit chasing a woman and child through an alley, headlines already forming in his mind. He stopped. The door swung shut. The wedding cake order sat on the counter, untouched and forgotten. If stories like this grip you from the very first second, hit subscribe, because this is just the beginning of what happens next. That night, Jun-seok stood in his penthouse apartment, staring at the city lights below. His phone buzzed. His fiancée, his mother, his assistant. He ignored them all. The glass of whiskey in his hand sat untouched, ice melting slowly. He kept seeing that child's face. Those eyes. 4 years and 9 months. That's how long it had been since Daisy left Korea. Since their divorce was finalized. Since she vanished without explanation, leaving only a brief note that said she couldn't stay. He'd been angry then. Hurt. But mostly relieved. His mother had called it a blessing. The media called it a quiet dissolution of a controversial marriage. No one asked questions. No one looked deeper. But that boy, Zane, 4, maybe 5 years old, The timeline was too perfect to ignore. Jun-seok set down his glass and reached for his phone. 3 days later, he sat in a private investigator's office, listening to details he already suspected. Zain Okafor, 4 years, 9 months old, born in Lagos, Nigeria. Moved to Seoul 6 months ago with his mother. The investigator said, sliding a folder across the desk. No father listed on the birth certificate. Jun-seok flipped through the pages. School records, medical files, photos of Daisy and Zain at a park, at a grocery store, walking home. In every image, she held the boy close, eyes constantly scanning. She works 3 jobs, the investigator continued. The bakery, a catering company, weekend shifts at a hotel kitchen. Single income, no family support here. Temporary work visa, renewable annually. Does she know? You've been watching? No, sir. Jun-seok closed the folder. I need a DNA test. 2 weeks later, the envelope arrived. A discarded juice box from the bakery. A cotton swab. Laboratory fees paid in cash. Jun-seok opened it alone in his office. His hands were steady, but his chest felt tight. Probability of paternity, 99.97% confirmed biological father. He read it 3 times. The words didn't change. He had a son he'd never held, never spoken to, never known existed. The anger built slowly, pressure behind his ribs. Days had kept this from him, made every choice alone, never reached out, never told him. But beneath the anger was something worse. Guilt. He remembered the last time he'd seen her, 5 years ago. She'd been pale, tired. She told him she felt sick. He'd suggested a doctor and left for Singapore. When he returned 3 weeks later, she was gone. His mother had handed him divorce papers already signed. She knew this wouldn't work. His mother had said, voice soft and certain, she saved you both the embarrassment. He'd believed her. Or he'd chosen to because it was easier. Now the question screamed. Why did she leave? What happened while he was gone? Why come back to Korea now? Jun-seok stood, straightening his tie. He stared at his reflection in the window, seeing the same face that had looked back at him from that child's eyes. He needed answers. The next morning, he returned to the bakery. It was early. The shop hadn't opened yet, but he could see movement inside. Days, arranging pastries in the display case. He knocked. She looked up. Her face went blank. She shook her head and turned away. He knocked again. Harder. Days. Please. She hesitated, then walked to the door. She didn't unlock it. Go away, she said through the glass. I know he's mine. Her jaw tightened. You don't know anything. I had a DNA test done. Her eyes went wide. You what? The juice box from 2 weeks ago. I know Zain is my son. She stepped back like he'd struck her. You had no right? I had every right. His voice rose. You kept my child from me. Your child? She laughed, bitter and sharp. You didn't want children. You made that very clear. I didn't know you were pregnant. Because I left before I could tell you. Why? Why did you leave? Daisy's hands shook. She pressed them against the glass. Because your mother made sure I had no choice. Jun-seok went still. What? Go ask her, Daisy said quietly. Ask her what she did. Ask her what she said to me. Ask her why I signed those papers. She walked away from the door. Daisy, wait. But she disappeared into the back, and the lights in the bakery went dark. Jun-seok drove straight to his mother's house. She lived in Gangnam, in a traditional hanok she'd restored with meticulous care. The housekeeper let him in without question. His mother sat in the garden drinking tea. Jun-seok, she said, not looking up. I wondered when you'd come. You knew. His voice was flat. You knew about Zain. I knew she was pregnant when she left, yes. And you said nothing? There was nothing to say. She set down her cup. She made her choice. What choice? What did you do? His mother finally looked at him. Her expression was calm. Too calm. I protected you. I protected this family. From what? From scandal. From weakness. From a marriage that would have destroyed everything you built. She stood, brushing invisible dust from her skirt. That woman was never going to fit into your world. You knew it. I simply helped her see it too. How? Junseok's voice dropped. How did you help her see it? His mother smiled. Thin. Cold. I showed her the evidence. What evidence? Company documents. Leaked financial data. Emails sent from her laptop while you were in Singapore. His mother walked past him toward the house. I had it all prepared. Enough to have her arrested for corporate espionage. Enough to have her deported and blacklisted. Junseok's blood turned to ice. You framed her. I gave her a choice, his mother said. Sign the divorce papers and leave quietly or face criminal charges. She chose wisely. She was pregnant. I know. His mother turned, and for the first time he saw something flicker in her eyes. Not regret. Satisfaction. A black woman carrying your child? Can you imagine the media? The board? Our investors? She shook her head. That child would have been a liability. She understood that. Junseok couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. You're a monster, he whispered. I'm your mother, she said simply. And I did what mothers do. I protected my son. He left without another word. Junseok didn't go back to his office. He drove aimlessly through Seoul, his mother's words echoing in his head. Framed, threatened, forced to choose between prison and abandonment while carrying his child. He pulled over on a side street and gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. Adaze hadn't left because she wanted to. She'd left because she had no choice. And he'd let it happen. He'd been too busy, too trusting, too blind to see what was happening in his own home. His phone rang. His fiancé's name flashed on the screen. He answered. Where have you been? Minji's voice was sharp. The wedding planner has been calling. We need to finalize the cake order. Your mother said you went to some bakery days ago and never... I'm canceling the wedding. Silence. What? The wedding. It's canceled. Junseok, if this is about cold feet, we can talk. I have a son. The line went dead quiet. He could hear her, breathing. You have a what? A son. 4 years old. I just found out. That's impossible. You said you never wanted... I didn't know he existed. He rubbed his face. His mother. We were married before. She left while she was pregnant. I didn't know until now. Minji's laugh was sharp and humorless. So you're canceling our wedding because of some child from a previous marriage? He's my son. He's a complication. Her voice turned cold. One that can be managed. We'll hire lawyers. Set up a trust fund. You don't have to actually be involved. I want to be involved. Don't be ridiculous. You have responsibilities, a company, a reputation. I have a son, he repeated. And I've already failed him once. I won't do it again. Your mother won't allow this. My mother is the reason this happened in the first place. He hung up before she could respond. That evening, he showed up at Adi's apartment. He'd gotten the address from the investigator's report. It was a small building in Itaewon, 4th floor. No elevator. He climbed the stairs and knocked. No answer. He knocked again. The door opened a crack. Adiz's face appeared, exhausted and wary. How did you find me? We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. Please. I went to see my mother. I know what she did. Something flickered in her eyes. Pain. Old and deep. Knowing doesn't change anything, she said. It changes everything. He stepped closer. She framed you, threatened you, forced you to leave while you were pregnant with my child, and I let it happen because I didn't ask questions. I didn't fight for you. I just believed what I was told and moved on. Adaisy's eyes glistened. Why are you here? Because I want to make this right. You can't. Her voice cracked. You can't give me back the years I spent alone, scared, working 3 jobs to keep us fed. You can't erase the nights Zayn asked why he didn't have a father like other kids. A tear slipped down her cheek. You can't make this right, Junseok. It's too late. Then let me try, he said. Let me be his father. Let me... Mom? They both turned. Zayn stood in the hallway, holding a stuffed elephant. He wore pajamas with cartoon robots on them. His hair, the same texture as his mother's, stood up in soft coils. He looked at Junseok with those familiar eyes. Who's that? Zayn asked. Adaze knelt down quickly. Go back to bed, baby. But I heard voices. I know. Just go back to bed. I'll be there in a minute. Zayn looked at Junseok again, curious and unafraid. Then he turned and padded back down the hallway. Adaze stood slowly. You need to leave. Adaze. Now. Please. She closed the door. Junseok stood in the hallway for a long moment, staring at the peeling paint. On her door, the flickering fluorescent light overhead. This was where his son lived. This cramped building with thin walls and broken lights. While he lived in a penthouse. While his mother lived in luxury. While Adaze worked herself to exhaustion just to survive. He pulled out his phone and made a call. I need an emergency board meeting, he said. Tomorrow morning, and I need my lawyer. Get everything ready. The next day, Junseok walked into the boardroom where his company's executives sat waiting. His mother sat at the far end of the table, composed and elegant. This is unusual, one of the board members said. What's this about? Junseok placed a folder on the table. 5 years ago, my ex-wife was accused of corporate espionage, leaked financial documents, stolen data. He opened the folder. The evidence was fabricated. Murmurs rippled through the room. That's absurd, his mother said calmly. The investigation was thorough. The investigation was manufactured, Junseok said. By you. He pulled out documents, emails, digital forensics reports he'd commissioned in the past 24 hours. Paper trails that led back to his mother's personal accounts, to shell companies she controlled, to the IT specialist she'd paid to plant evidence on Adaze's laptop. You framed an innocent woman, he said. You threatened her with prison. You forced her to sign divorce papers and leave the country. He looked directly at his mother. And she was pregnant with my child when you did it. The room erupted. Questions flew. His mother's face remained stone. I did what was necessary, she said. You committed fraud, evidence tampering, blackmail. Junseok's voice was steady. And I'm making it public. All of it. You'll destroy this company, his mother said. I'll destroy the lie this company was built on. He turned to the board. My ex-wife, Adaze Okafor, was innocent. The accusations against her were false. I have a son I never knew about because she was forced to flee, and I will not let that stand. One of the older board members cleared his throat. What are you asking for? Full public retraction. Financial compensation for the damage done to her reputation and livelihood. And my mother's immediate resignation from all company positions. His mother stood. You ungrateful. Sit down, Junseok said quietly, or I'll have security escort you out. For the first time in his life, he saw fear in her eyes. She sat. The board meeting lasted 3 hours. By the end, his mother had been voted out. A public statement was being drafted. Junseok's lawyer was already preparing settlement documents. When he finally left the building, the sun was setting. His phone buzzed with messages. Minji's family threatening legal action. Business partners demanding explanations. Media outlets requesting comments. He ignored them all. Instead, he drove to Itaewon. He parked outside a Daisy's building and waited. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, she appeared, walking down the street with Zayn. The boy wore a school backpack nearly as big as he was. A Daisy carried grocery bags. Junseok got out of his car. A Daisy saw him and stopped. "Mom." Zayn tugged her hand. "That's the man from the bakery." "I know, baby." Junseok approached slowly. "I'm not here to cause trouble, I wanted you to know. I told the board everything. About what my mother did. They're issuing a public statement. And you'll receive compensation for what you went through." Adaze stared at him. "Why?" "Because it was wrong. Because you deserved better. Because..." He looked at Zayn. "Because he deserves to know the truth." Zayn looked between them, confused. "Mom, who is he?" the boy asked again. Adaizi's eyes filled with tears. She knelt down, setting the grocery bags aside. She took Zayn's small hands in hers. "Zayn, baby, this is..." Her voice broke. Junseok knelt too, meeting the boy at eye level. "My name is Han Junseok," he said gently. "And I'm your father." Zayn's eyes widened. He looked at his mother for confirmation. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "It's true. But..." "You said my dad was far away," Zayn said. "You said he didn't know about me." "I was far away," Junseok said. "And I didn't know. But I do now. And if it's okay with you and your mom, I'd like to get to know you." Zayn studied him seriously, the way only children can. "Do you like robots?" Junseok blinked. I don't know much about robots." "I can teach you," Zayn said. "I know everything about robots." Something broke open in Junseok's chest. "I'd like that." Zayn looked at his mother again. "Is it okay, Mom?" Adaze wiped her eyes. "Yeah, baby. It's okay." The boy stepped forward and, without hesitation, wrapped his small arms around Junseok's neck. Junseok froze. Then slowly, carefully, he put his arms around his son and held him. Adaze covered her mouth, sobbing quietly. For the first time in 5 years, something felt right. When Zayn pulled back, he smiled. "Can you come to my swimming lesson tomorrow? I'm learning to dive." Junseok looked at Adaeze. She hesitated, then nodded. "I'll be there," he said. That night, Junseok didn't go home. He sat in his car outside their building until the lights in their apartment went out. He watched the window where his son slept. This child he'd missed 4 years of knowing. He couldn't get that time back. But he could be there for every day that came next. The swimming pool smelled like chlorine and echoed with children's laughter. Junseok stood at the edge of the viewing area, watching Zayn in the shallow end with his instructor. The boy wore bright yellow swim trunks and goggles too big for his face. A Daisy stood a few feet away, arms crossed, keeping distance between them. "He's been taking lessons for 2 months," she said quietly. "He loves the water, but he's scared to go under." "Does he know I'm here?" "He knows." Junseok watched as the instructor demonstrated a diving motion. Zayn shook his head, backing away from the edge. "Come on, Zayn," the instructor encouraged. "Just like we practiced." Zayn looked toward the viewing area. His eyes found Junseok. Without thinking, Junseok raised his hand and gave a thumbs up. "You can do it!" The instructor looked surprised. Other parents glanced over. Zayn stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned back to the pool, took a deep breath, and jumped. He went under, came up sputtering and laughing. "I did it. Mom, did you see? I did it." Adaizi smiled, her first real smile Junseok had seen in years. "I saw, baby. I'm so proud of you." Zayn swam to the edge, pulling himself up. Did you see, He paused, uncertain what to call Jun Seok. I saw, Jun Seok said, his throat tight. That was amazing. After the lesson, they stood in the parking lot. Zayn dripped pool water onto the pavement, still chattering about his dive. Can we get ice cream? He asked, bouncing on his toes. Adaze checked her watch. Baby, I have to work soon. I can take him, Jun Seok said quickly. Then, seeing Adaze's face, he added, if that's okay with you. She looked between them, Zayn's hopeful expression, Jun Seok's careful one. Please, Mom. She sighed. 1 hour. And you text me every 20 minutes. I will, Jun Seok promised. They went to a small ice cream shop nearby. Zayn ordered chocolate with gummy bears. Jun Seok got vanilla, not because he wanted it, but because he couldn't remember the last time he'd eaten ice cream at all. They sat at a plastic table outside. Zayn swung his legs, attacking his cone with serious concentration. Do you have a house? Zayn asked suddenly. Yes, an apartment. Is it big? Pretty big. Do you have toys? No, I don't. Zayn considered this. That's sad. Everyone should have toys. Jun Seok smiled. You're right. What's your favorite toy? My robot. His name is Bolt. He has lights and he can walk and everything. Zayn took a bite of ice cream. Mom got him for my birthday, even though she said we couldn't afford it. But she got it anyway, because she's the best mom. Something twisted in Jun Seok's chest. She is. Why didn't you know about me? Zayn asked, his voice curious, not accusatory. Jun Seok set down his cone. How did you explain? Adult failures to a child? Your mom and we had some problems. My family did something very wrong and it made your mom have to leave. She didn't tell me about you because she was scared, and I didn't know to look for her because I didn't ask the right questions. Oh. Zayn licked his cone thoughtfully. Are you still married to Mom? No. We got divorced a long time ago. Do you love her? The question hit like a punch. Jun Seok opened his mouth, then closed it. Did he? He'd thought he did once. But looking back now, he wondered if he'd ever really known what love was. He'd cared about her, yes. Enjoyed her company. But had he fought for her? Protected her? Chosen her over convenience? I loved who we were together, he said finally. But I wasn't a good husband. I didn't protect her when I should have. You should say sorry. I have. Many times. Then say it more. Zayn spoke with the simple wisdom of children. That's what I do when I really mean it. Jun Seok texted Adaze every 20 minutes as promised. At the end of the hour, he drove Zayn back to their apartment. Adaze was waiting outside, already in her catering company uniform. Zayn jumped out and hugged her. We got ice cream and talked about robots, and he said sorry for being a bad husband. Adaze's eyes met Jun Seok's over Zayn's head. He did? I did, Jun Seok confirmed. She bit her lip. I need to go. Can you stay with him until I get back? My neighbor usually watches him, but she's sick. Of course. She hesitated, then nodded. There's food in the fridge. Bedtime is 8:30. He needs to brush his teeth for 2 minutes, and he'll try to convince you it's already done, but check. And he has to read 1 chapter before bed. I've got it. She kissed Zayn's forehead. Be good, baby. I'm always good, Zayn said, grinning. After she left, Jun Seok found himself alone with his son in the small apartment. It was clean but worn, furniture that didn't match, walls that needed paint. But there were pictures everywhere. Zayn's drawings on the refrigerator, photos of him and Adaze at parks, at the beach, making faces at the camera. A life Jun Seok had never been part of. Want to see my room? Zayn asked. It was barely big enough for a twin bed and a small dresser. But Zayn had made it his own. Glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. A shelf full of robot toys. Drawings taped to every available surface. "This is Bolt," Zane said, holding up his prized robot. "And this is Spark. And this one's name is, I forgot. I just got him." "What should we name him?" Zane thought hard. "Thunder. Thunder is a good name." They played robots for an hour. Jun Seok, who'd negotiated billion-dollar deals, found himself on his knees making explosion sounds and pretending a toy car was a spaceship. Zane laughed so hard he got hiccups. At dinner, Zane ate leftover rice and chicken while telling Jun Seok about his school, his friends, his teacher who had a funny laugh. "Do you go to work?" Zane asked. "Yes, I run a company." "What does the company do?" "We make technology, phones, computers, things like that." "Cool, can I see it?" "Sure, someday." At 8:15, Jun Seok announced bedtime. Zane groaned dramatically but brushed his teeth without complaint. He picked a book about space and climbed into bed. Jun Seok sat on the edge of the mattress and began to read. Zane's breathing slowed. His eyes drooped. "Dad?" he whispered. Jun Seok's breath caught. It was the first time Zane had called him that. "Yes?" "Will you come back tomorrow?" "If your mom says it's okay." "She will." Zane yawned. "She's not as mad anymore, I can tell." "How can you tell?" "Because she stopped crying when you text her." Jun Seok's chest tightened. "Get some sleep, Zane." "Okay. Night, Dad." "Good night." He stayed until Zane fell asleep, watching his son's chest rise and fall. This small person who existed because of him, who carried his blood, his features, his stubborn determination. A son who'd spent 4 years without a father because Jun Seok had been too blind to see what was happening in his own life. Adaze came home at 11. She looked exhausted, smelling like kitchen grease and burnt onions. She stopped when she saw Jun Seok on the couch. "You're still here?" "I wanted to make sure you got home safe." She set down her bag. "He's asleep?" "Since 8:45. He brushed his teeth." "We read chapter 3. "Thank you." She collapsed into the chair across from him. "You don't have to keep doing this, you know. The money from the settlement, it'll help. You don't have to feel obligated." "This isn't obligation," Jun Seok said. "He called me Dad tonight." Adaisy's eyes widened, and I realized, I've spent my whole life building a company, making money, chasing success. But I never built anything that mattered. Not really. He leaned forward. "Zane matters. You matter. And I know I can't fix the past. But I want to be here for the future. Every day. Every moment I can." "Jun Seok, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking for us to be together. I'm just asking for a chance to be his father." Adaze was quiet for a long moment. "He needs consistency, not someone who shows up when it's convenient." "I know. He needs someone who'll be there for school plays and soccer games, and when he's sick at 3 in the morning. I'll be there. He needs someone who'll choose him, every time, even when it's hard." "I will." Jun Seok met her eyes. "I failed you both once. I won't do it again." She studied him, searching for something. "He asked me yesterday if you were going to leave again like you did before. You know what I told him?" Jun Seok shook his head. "I said I didn't know. Because I don't." Her voice cracked. "I can't protect him from another abandonment. I can't watch him wait by the window for someone who doesn't show up. Then watch me prove you wrong. Words are easy. Then I'll show you with actions. Every single day." Adaze wiped her eyes. "He loves you already. Do you know how terrifying that is for me? He's loved you for 3 days and he's already calling you Dad. What happens when you realize this life isn't what you want? When the reality of parenting gets boring or inconvenient?" "It won't." "You don't know that." "You're right. I don't." Jun Seok stood. But I'm here. And I'll keep being here until you believe me. He walked to the door, then paused. He said I should keep apologizing. That's what he does when he really means it. What? So I'm sorry, Adaze. For not protecting you. For not questioning my mother. For letting you face everything alone. For missing 4 years of our son's life. I'm sorry. He opened the door. And I'll keep saying it until you believe that too. He left before she could respond. Over the next 3 weeks, Jun-seok showed up. Every day. He came to swimming lessons and cheered when Zayn finally mastered diving. He picked Zayn up from school twice a week, listening to stories about playground adventures and math problems. He learned about Zayn's allergies, his favorite foods, the specific way he liked his sandwiches cut. He learned how to braid Zayn's hair after watching 5 YouTube tutorials and asking Adaze for help. He learned which robot was which, and why Bolt was superior to all others. He learned that Zayn was scared of thunderstorms and liked to sleep with 3 stuffed animals arranged in a specific order. He rearranged his entire schedule, moved meetings, delegated responsibilities. His assistant learned to block out Zayn time on his calendar like it was the most important appointment of the day, because it was. The media had a field day with the story. Billionaire CEO's secret son. Corporate scandal involving his mother. A wedding canceled. His ex-fiancé's family threatened lawsuits but backed down when their own financial irregularities were quietly investigated. Jun-seok didn't care. Let them talk. Let them speculate. None of it mattered. What mattered was the moment Zayn scored his first goal in soccer and immediately looked for Jun-seok in the stands. What mattered was Adaze's slow, cautious smile when he remembered Zayn needed his special soap because of his eczema. What mattered was building something real. One morning, Jun-seok arrived at the apartment with coffee for Adaze and a new robot toy for Zayn. Adaze opened the door, still in her pajamas, hair wrapped in a silk scarf. "You're early," she said. "I wanted to take Zayn to breakfast before school, if that's okay." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she stepped aside. "Come in, he's almost ready." Zayn bounded out of his room, backpack bouncing. "Dad, you're here. Can we get pancakes?" "Pancakes it is." As they headed toward the door, Zayn grabbed both their hands, swinging between them. "This is nice," he said simply. Adaze's eyes met Jun-seok's over their son's head. Something passed between them. Not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. If you've made it this far, you're part of this journey now. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling us what you think happens next, and subscribe because stories like this don't end here. They're just beginning. This is how broken things start to heal. One day at a time, one choice at a time. One moment of showing up when it would be easier to walk away. Some men plan weddings and build empires. Others walk into a bakery and find the family they were never meant to lose, and then they fight like hell to keep it.